What's going on, guys? Ryan O'Toole back here again, giving you guys another ranking. With the release of Spider-Man Far From Home, the 23rd film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the final film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe's Infinity Saga, it's time for me to give you guys my updated ranking on all 23 Marvel Cinematic Universe movies from worst to best. If you guys are new here, feel free to click that subscribe button and that bell notification icon for more reviews, reactions, rankings, and more movie content. As always, guys, with a ranking video, let me know your guys' rankings on all the MCU movies. If you haven't seen Far From Home yet, then leave the films that you've seen down below in the comment section. This list is completely subjective. This is not the right list. This is just my list overall. These are my opinions. Keep in mind, guys, all film is subjective. We all have different loves and tastes for movies. And this is just my ranking. If you don't like my list, that's completely fine. And just be respectful down below. Without further ado, let's get going. Coming in at number 23 is going to be Iron Man 2. Very obvious placement. Iron Man 2 is my least favorite MCU movie. I don't like this movie much. I don't hate it, but it's definitely the weakest MCU movie, in my opinion. Jon Favreau just was rushed to direct this movie. Marvel wanted this movie rushed so we can get right to the Avengers. But I think all the story elements in Iron Man 2 are very bland. Tony Stark is unlikable from start to finish. He drinks a lot. He's terrible to Pepper Potts. Whiplash is an awful villain. Justin Hammer wasn't that bad. He had some charisma to him, but at the end, he was definitely wasted. While I do like the recasting of Don Cheadle as War Machine and not Terrence Howard, I prefer Terrence Howard, but Don Cheadle is really good in this movie as War Machine. All the action sequences with Iron Man and War Machine, especially the final one when they're shooting down all of Whiplash's bots, but it's completely obliterated when Whiplash makes his own Ironmonger suit, and it's basically the ending of the first Iron Man. Plus, the humor in this movie was really off, with Whiplash talking with Justin Hammer about his frickin' bird for 5 minutes. Coming in number 22 is Thor: The Dark World. This is a majority of everyone's least favorite, and Thor: The Dark World, I had a lot more fun with it than Iron Man 2. It is a very boring movie as well, but I like the back and forth with Thor and Loki in this movie. I think both of them are great once again together. Loki is definitely my favorite character in Thor: The Dark World. Malekith is hands down the worst MCU villain. He's very forgettable, there's no personality to him, and a motivation that's been seen and done before. And Malekith's fight with Thor is very forgettable as well, and I also don't like Darcy in this movie at all. Kat Dennings. Natalie Portman, she's very bland in Thor: The Dark World. The romance is just not there. But there are some fun parts to it. There were some cool adventure escape scenes. But other than that, Thor: The Dark World just does not mesh well as an MCU movie. Coming in at number 21 is The Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk is actually a decent movie. It's definitely the black sheep of the MCU. It's that film that does not feel at all like an MCU movie. The only reason why they made it an MCU movie is just to add Tony Stark at the end credit scene and recruit Bruce Banner to the Avengers. A lot of people were enraged back in the day with the recasting of Edward Norton and Mark Ruffalo. Edward Norton is definitely a good Hulk and Bruce Banner. I thought he was great in The Incredible Hulk, just the scenes of Bruce Banner trying to escape Thunderbolt Ross and them in Brazil, and then go into that college university. Definitely the worst part of The Incredible Hulk is the romance between Betty Ross and Bruce Banner. Liv Tyler, you're great in Lord of the Rings, but you're god-awful in this movie. And totally bland. Also, I really like Abomination in here, played by Tim Roth. That's a very underrated villain in my opinion, but they could have used him a lot better in here. The final fight between Hulk and Abomination is the best part of this whole movie, and it's a savior. But the reason it's so far down on my list is because it doesn't feel at all like an MCU movie. At number 20 is going to be Captain Marvel. Now, I rewatched Captain Marvel on Blu-ray, and I couldn't even finish it because I had a family over, and I couldn't even finish it for some reason because I was just getting so bored of the movie. It's not that Captain Marvel's an awful movie, it's just a basic MCU movie with nothing really to it. And I think it could have been with Brie Larson's performance as Carol Danvers / Captain Marvel. The character overall is just not interesting at all in this movie. She gets her powers for some reason because of this accident with a ship, and so this Infinity Stone powers gets inside her. Definitely Nick Fury is the best part of this movie. Samuel Jackson gets so much more to do in Captain Marvel, gets so much more development. Goose the Cat is awesome. Who doesn't love Goose the Cat? Maria Rambeau was pretty cool as well. And Talos, played by Ben Mendelsohn, and the Skrulls. The Skrulls were so cool and interesting. And to see the twist of them not being the villains, but the heroes. They're just trying to find somewhere safe. They're trying to find their planet. And Talos was really interesting and very funny too. At number 19 is going to be Iron Man 3. Now, Iron Man 3 is a watchable movie for sure. I can watch Iron Man 3 from start to finish and have no issues with it. And definitely Tony Stark has some great development in here. It frustrates me that he's not in the suit, but I do like the Tony Stark elements in Iron Man 3 when the Mandarin blows up his house, and it's definitely cool. I love the score to this movie. I like the little kid Ty Simpkins and Pepper Potts as well, and Rhodey. But definitely the Mandarin twist is still what gets me. I do not like that twist at all on what they did to the character. Ben Kingsley tries his best. He's a fantastic actor. And Aldrich Killian is bleh. At number 18 is Ant-Man and the Wasp. Now this movie was a little higher on the list. Now it's dropped to 18 just due to rewatchability and the film overall. Ant-Man and the Wasp is a fine film. I can watch this movie as well from start to finish. But man, nothing eventful in this movie. A cat and mouse game between Ant-Man and the Wasp, a cat and mouse between Sonny Birch and his people, which I don't know why they had much involvement, and Ghost as well. They're all trying to go after Hank Pym's lab, which shrinks as well. It's this building, he has a suitcase on it. They're all trying to go after that one MacGuffin, and that's the whole movie. After Infinity War, we get this movie. And this movie is funny, but a lot of the jokes do fall flat in Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I do love the Wasp in this movie. Evangeline Lilly is awesome. And Paul Rudd as Ant-Man could have had a lot more to do. Ghost is not a bad character, but really her character could have had more to do, much more development. At number 17 is a very overrated MCU movie in my opinion, Doctor Strange. I rewatched this movie and try to enjoy it more, but it's just a fine film to me, but I find it overrated when people put this in their top 10 list or their top 5. I'm like, it's not that great in my opinion. The humor is what really got to me in this movie. I think the humor is incredibly forced in Doctor Strange. I do like Wong, but all of his laughing jokes, like Doctor Strange trying to make him laugh, is incredibly forced and he's trying too hard. The best part of this movie is the visual effects. The visual effects are magnificent. I cannot deny that. It should have won the Oscar. The origin story's been done before with Iron Man and Thor, but really he's unlikable from the start to this movie, and the character's fine. The villain Caecilius and Dormammu, they're just added in there just to be cliche villains, but I think the final act is definitely original. With Dormammu, I've come to bargain. I like the final act. At number 16 is going to be Thor, the first Thor. I think this movie's pretty good. I do like the first Thor movie. I love Chris Hemsworth as Thor, Tom Hiddleston as Loki, Anthony Hopkins as Odin. All three are fantastic. A lot of great Romeo and Juliet vibes because it's directed by Kenneth Branagh. Kenneth Branagh, of course, he does the Dutch angles, which are just kind of confusing. But I think the first Thor is gravitas and epic in terms of knights and all that, and I think Kenneth Branagh does a great job with that. The final battle was definitely epic. Loki doesn't die, but it's great to see that final battle in here, and Thor having to be a good guy, and he starts off as unlikable, but he becomes a good guy. Coming in at number 15 is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now, Volume 2 is a very controversial film. A lot of people hate this movie, a lot of people love it, think it's highly underrated, my brother Cody. And then there's me that think it's definitely good, but could have been better. Volume 2 was a fun movie. I do enjoy Volume 2. I love Ego the Living Planet. I thought Kurt Russell did a great job in here. And the character development. The character development is really good with Rocket, with Nebula, with Yondu, with Peter Quill. He had some moments, but I think Peter Quill had good development. Drax is a joke box throughout this whole entire movie. We did not get Drax the Destroyer. The Sovereign as well are thrown in there just because Rocket stole batteries from them. I wanted more Ego and Star-Lord, and we didn't get much of that until the final act, and it's cool how Ego turns out to be the villain. The soundtrack also was fine and disappointing compared to Volume 1. But still, Volume 2 is not awful. It's definitely a watchable movie. I really enjoyed this movie. At number 14 is Avengers Age of Ultron. Age of Ultron is a very good sequel. I do enjoy Age of Ultron. I can definitely have a lot of fun with it. I think the action sequences are great. The Hulkbuster scene is awesome. And the character development as well. Hawkeye gets the most development out of the main Avengers. Scarlet Witch was awesome in here. Quicksilver's definitely my least favorite MCU hero just because they killed him off and made him And I really like Vision as well. Vision was amazing. I love when he picks up Thor's hammer. Ultron was definitely a very disappointing villain because the teaser trailers were building him up to be a Darth Vader level villain, but we just got an Iron Man ripoff in here. He's throwing out jokes left to right, and I wanted him to be like Thanos, just to be a villain with purpose. 13 is Ant-Man. This is the other 2015 MCU movie, Ant-Man. I did not expect to like this movie as much as Age of Ultron back when it came out in 2015, but man, Ant-Man was so good. I loved the first Ant-Man movie. Paul Rudd was perfectly well cast as Scott Lang, Ant-Man, and Evangeline Lilly, Michael Douglas. The cast is great in here. The biggest issue is the villains, as always. Corey Stoll's a great actor, but his character, Yellow Jacket, was pretty meh. But I love the heist elements. I love Michael Pena as well. He's so funny in this movie. If Edgar Wright directed this movie, he would have done it way differently compared to Peyton Reed. But still, Peyton Reed did a fantastic job. I love this movie. Coming in at number 12 is going to be Spider-Man Homecoming. I rewatched Spider-Man Homecoming yesterday to prepare for Far From Home. And I love Spider-Man Homecoming. I think it's a very good Spider-Man movie. Not the best, because there are better ones, but I love the Vulture. The Vulture is the best part of this movie. Adrian Toomes, played by Michael Keaton. Just the fact that he's just a regular dad who's out there trying to pay for his family, to put food on their table. You definitely understand it. And the film opens up with Adrian Toomes, which I love that. I love Spider-Man. Tom Holland's fantastic. All the high school elements were fantastic in here. Tony Stark, thank God he wasn't in it for the majority because it's Spider-Man's movie. And Tony Stark is just there to be a father figure to him. The action sequences felt bland. The boat scene was spoiled in the trailer. And the plane scene was rushed as well. All the action scenes felt rushed in here. 11 is Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok, I love this movie. Taika Waititi coming in, bringing his own vision to the movie, and Thor really making him a lovable Avenger, strongest Avenger, and just adding in that Taika Waititi humor. He's great as Korg. Thor's hilarious. Valkyrie's an awesome character. And also Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, Bruce Banner. Bringing him in here was awesome. Jeff Goldblum as the Grandmaster. Hella Kate Blanchett, awesome villain. Thor Ragnarok, a lot of people complain that the humor overtakes the seriousness. I definitely understand that criticism because I do feel like the humor does overtake the serious parts, but definitely works because Taika Waititi brings that slyness to the humor, which I really enjoyed. Okay guys, we're getting to the top 10. Coming in at number 10 is Captain America, the First Avenger. First Avenger, I praise this movie enough. I love First Avenger and think it's the most underrated MCU movie. Chris Evans was perfectly cast as Captain America because everybody hated the casting back in the day, and look where we're at now. Fantastic friendship between Bucky and Steve. Red Skull, amazing villain played by Hugo Weaving. A lot of people complain about the war montages. I don't have an issue with that. I enjoy that. I think the biggest issue with First Avenger is it feels formulaic and not too epic. But First Avenger is so much fun, I can forgive all those criticisms. I think Alan Silvestri's score is amazing. And all around, First Avenger is emotional, it's patriotic, and it's badass. Coming in at number 9 is going to be the film that started it all 11 years ago, the OG Iron Man, directed by Jon Favreau. Robert Downey Jr., what a casting choice and what a performance he gives as Tony Stark / Iron Man. Thank God Downey Jr. was cast, because Marvel took a huge risk on casting a guy who was into drugs and made such a comeback with his role in Iron Man. And I love all the scenes. I love the test flying scene with his first Mark suit. I love the missile fight scene. Jeff Bridges as Obadiah Stane was my biggest issue. I think he's a very formulaic villain. He could have been better. The Ironmonger wasn't that great. The final action sequence just felt underwhelming. That was my only issue with the first Iron Man. I love this movie so much. Coming in at number 8 is going to be the newly released Spider-Man Far From Home. I just saw this movie last night. My review's up on my channel. Go check out my spoiler-free review. I loved Far From Home. I thought this movie was leagues better than Homecoming. All the issues I had with Homecoming were fixed here. Tom Holland gives some of his best acting in this film, but Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio was fan-freaking-tastic. What a perfect casting choice. Mysterio's such a great villain and such a great character all around, all the things he does. Far From Home, there's so much I want to talk about, but I can't in here. You'll have to watch the movie and my spoiler-free review. Coming in at number 7 is going to be Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Black Panther, I think this film's fantastic. I don't think it's overrated, and for Best Picture nomination, I definitely think it's a good, deserving nomination, but Infinity War is definitely a better movie. But still, I understand why Black Panther got a lot of Oscar nominations. The cultural impact it had, and Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther. A lot of people complain that he's just fine in here compared to Civil War. I disagree. I think Chadwick Boseman's fantastic. Eric Killmonger, I've spoken my praises about him. Michael B. Jordan was terrific. Shuri Okoye and Baku Wakabi, definitely the supporting cast are the shiners in this film. I wanted more Ulysses Claw. I was sad that they killed him off, because Andy Serkis gets killed off in every movie he's in. But still, I love Black Panther. The action's great, the score, the cultural impact. At number 6 is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy, this is the biggest surprise for me in the MCU. Because when I heard the announcement of this movie, I'm like, really, Marvel? A film with a talking tree and a talking raccoon? How is this gonna work? And they shut my mouth because it completely worked. The first Guardians of the Galaxy, what a theater experience this was for me back in 2014. The audience loved it, I loved it, it was hilarious, it was epic, it was action-packed, and it was just awesome and badass from start to finish. Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, Bradley Cooper, and Vin Diesel were all perfectly cast in their roles. The only bad part is Ronan the Accuser. Other than that, I would argue saying the first Guardians of the Galaxy is the most rewatchable MCU movie. If you want to rewatch a movie and just watch it perfectly fine, it's the first Guardians for me. Top 5, coming in at number 5 is going to be The Avengers. The first Avengers movie that came out in 2012. I freaking love this movie. The top 5 are seriously some of my favorite films, probably. Bringing all these A-list superheroes, Iron Man, Cap, Thor, Hulk, and Black Widow, and Hawkeye, together to fight Loki and the Chitauri army. It's just beyond epic. I love Alan Silvestri's score. I love the action sequences. The Battle of New York is amazing. And the character interactions in this movie are so good. This is seriously one of the best scripts I've ever seen in films, and it's so amazing from start to finish that I have no issues with the first Avengers. Coming in at number 4 is going to be Captain America the Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier was badass from start to finish. What a change of direction this was. It was a spy espionage thriller, and I love the Russo brothers. This is their first MCU movie. What direction it was. Chris Evans as Captain America cemented him as my favorite MCU hero. I love the addition of Anthony Mackie as Falcon, Sam Wilson, Natasha Romanoff, Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Johansson and Chris Evans have such great chemistry together. And the twist of Hydra being infiltrated in S.H.I.E.L.D. was mind-blowing. And man, the action in this movie is incredible. The highway fight, the elevator fight, the helicarrier fight, every single action scene, the car chase, everyone is mind-blowingly awesome. And Winter Soldier is just a film that was just badass from start to finish. Coming in at number 3 is going to be Captain America Civil War. What an epic battle film this movie was. Civil War not only was an epic battle movie, it was a great political movie about 2 different issues to one side. Do we go with the Accords or don't go with the Accords? And I believe in Team Cap's side, and I believe in Team Iron Man's side. There's no wrong side here. And that's what I love what the Russo brothers did in here, making each side relatable. That airport scene, I've spoken my praises about that. You guys know that scene's amazing. Zemo as well, he's a very underrated villain. The fact that he plotted out each of these things, plotting different sides, and splitting the Avengers up. What a great villain he was. And this whole movie is great political intrigue. It's emotional with the ending. You don't want either side to win. And man, the Russos set everything perfectly for Infinity War and Endgame. Top 2. You know what my top 2 are, but where do they rank? But coming in at number 2 is Avengers Infinity War. What a grand epic film this was. The epic 10-year build-up we've all been waiting for, and it did not disappoint me. Thanos comes right out of the gate and says, I'm the best MCU villain. I'm gonna wreck some shit up, and he does throughout this whole movie. Josh Brolin's performance as Thanos is seriously one of the greatest performances from a villain I've ever seen. There's so many characters in this movie, and the Russos did a great job of fleshing out different teams. You had Doctor Strange and Tony Stark on one team in Spider-Man. You had Wakanda, Captain America, Black Panther, and all of them. And then you had the Guardians and Thor. I love the different groupings in here. Doctor Strange became one of my favorite characters because Doctor Strange is an MVP as well as Thor. Whole ending with everybody turned into dust, almost everybody, was the most shocking ending I've ever seen in a superhero movie. And Thanos wins at the end in the first part, but Thanos just sitting down on his porch, and then it turned into the credits. And my number 1 favorite MCU movie is Avengers Endgame. What a fantastic film this was. What an epic build-up. 11 years of 22 MCU movies. Man, Endgame had me bawling at the end of it. Oh my god, we'll get to that. But still, Avengers Endgame, this was a fantastic sequel to Infinity War, as well as a great time travel movie. All the time travel aspects were really well done and very different compared to many time travel movies. Tony Stark goes through so much in Endgame, and him having a daughter now, and basically him in the opening scenes of him being super skinny and being stuck with Nebula in space, and then just to him sacrificing himself all the way at the end to put on that gauntlet and say, I am Iron Man. It's such a great, sad death that I cried like a baby, and I'm about to cry right now. Endgame has made so much money in the box office. It's the second highest grossing film of all time. I don't think it's going to surpass Avatar, but it should get a Best Picture nomination, and it should get a Best Original Score winning nomination to Alan Silvestri. Endgame is my favorite MCU movie. There you have it, guys. That was my updated ranking for all 23 MCU movies from worst to best. I'm sick, I'm tired after doing that, but I enjoyed doing it for you guys. So again, guys, in the comment section down below, let me know your rankings of all the MCU movies, and let's have a great discussion. Thank you guys, as always, for watching this ranking. All my social media links are in the description below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!